Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1058A, and today's date is August 25th, 2016, and the title of the episode is Central Banks Cut Interest Rates 667 Times Since '08 and Own $25 trillion of Financial Assets. Now, before I get started, I have two announcements. The first announcement is I uploaded an interview with Dex, aka The Vulcan. And if you go over to the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel, you can play the video there. Or you can come over to the x22report.com site. Just scroll down a little bit, look over to the right-hand side, you'll see the video there. Or you can go to newssentinel.com. Same thing, scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, and you can play the video there. My second announcement is that this Friday at 8 p.m., I will be live with V the Guerrilla Economist on his YouTube channel. He live streams his interviews. So if you have some time and you like to listen to me once again and listen to V, you can come on over to his channel at 8 o'clock on Friday. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now today we can see the market is flat. It really didn't go anywhere. Gold is suppressed once again, and it looks like gold is being slammed down for the second day as COMEX options expire. And we have to realize the U.S. government's central bankers, they don't want people to understand what is going on here. They need to keep people in the dark. They need to make sure that you don't realize that this system is dying. Because as we've been discussing, there will be a new system. They just can't show themselves as being the ones who lost control of the system, and they're the ones who destroyed the system, because this system that we have right now dies after 40 to 45 years. It's designed that way. And they need to stop this old system, and they need to start a new system. Now, there is a transition period, which will be the collapse of the system. And during this phase, people are going to have problems because credit's going to freeze up. We might not be able to get fuel. And if you notice, they've been pumping a lot of oil, and there's a glut of oil. Think about in the 70s. We couldn't get the oil. Now we have a glut. Most likely they're doing this on purpose to make sure there's an oversupply, because once the dollar comes off oil and the petrodollar is discontinued, guess what? We're going to have a problem again. And we can see they've been preparing for this. But during this time, they need everyone to think that the economy is doing well, everything is fine. But we know that the economy is not doing well, and it is not fine, because we see economic indicators all over the place which are completely declining, deteriorating, collapsing. Fitch released its latest auto subprime report, and they're saying that we've gone from bad to worse, warning that the seasonably slow summer months are translating into an increase in annualized losses and delinquencies for U.S. subprime auto loans. So, subprime 60-plus day delinquencies rose 13% month over month from this July, which was 4.59%, and were 17% higher versus a year earlier. And this rate was just shy of the record peak of 5.16%, which was earlier this year. Fitch also adds that the subprime losses hit 7.39% in July, rising 17%, which are 28% higher year over year. So people are having a rough time paying off the autos. And we have to remember, anyone walking into a car dealership, you have a heartbeat, they don't care about credit anymore. They'll give anyone an automobile to pump up this bubble. We see durable goods. Well, they were revised last June. And they were revised much, much lower. And then July came in, and they said, look, durable goods just shot up. Month on month, ahead of expectations of 3.4%, they came in at 4.4%. This is the biggest gain since October of 2015. Well, they just revised the numbers dramatically lower to make it look like, June's numbers dramatically low to make it look like July's numbers are much higher. But when you really look at this, durable goods, which are like washers, dryers, things like that, they fell 6.4% year over year. This is the second biggest annual drop in a row. Capital goods shipments, non-defense aircraft fell by 0.4% month on month, which led to a 9.5% collapse year over year. The situation is getting worse and worse as we move along here. And then we know manufacturing is dead in the water because the U.S. government central bankers has told us that we're no longer a manufacturing country. We are a service country where all we do is service and purchase and service and purchase. Well, we have a problem in the service arena. Services dropped to 50.9. This is the lowest since February of 2016. With the lowest jobs data in 20 months. New orders, well, they are very weak since May. And market warns GDP growth is failing to accelerate in the third quarter from the weak 1.2% pace seen in the second quarter. So I guess the service economy will not save the economy like the central bankers have told us. Because as we can see, the situation is getting worse and worse as time goes on. So we need to look at what the central banks have done. Now they're telling us they're out there, they're managing the economies for the governments because the governments can't do it on their own. And they need to be there, a private central bank controlled by all the private banks. They need to be in control of the people's money. And we can see right now, they're not working for the people. It's a private corporation. And since 2008, the central banks have cut the interest rates 667 times since Lehman. The G7 central bank governors, Yellen, Kuroda, Draghi, Carney, have been in their current posts for a collective 17 years. And only Yellen, who's been in there for 1 year, has actually hiked the interest rates during this time. Central banks own 25 trillion of financial assets. It is larger than the GDP of the US, Japan, and this, what we're seeing right now, cannot be sustained. There are currently 12.3 trillion of negative yielding global bonds. There is currently 8 trillion of negative yielding sovereign debt. What we're seeing here is the central bank, they are the center and they are the economy. If you remove the central bank right now, this economy would die. It's a complete illusion that everyone is out there buying things, selling things, making profits. Yes, there are some people, there are some companies, but the majority, they're sitting on the sidelines. Think about it. The central bank had to step in, couldn't let any bank or any large corporation fail, started to print or push a button and create electronic currency like crazy and has not stopped. They've had to buy up all the toxic real estate, which they can't get rid of. And they took it off all the banks' books. They had to tell the banks not to put the foreclosed houses on the market. They had to tell and give hedge funds and investment companies free money to purchase up homes. They had to bring interest rates down to zero and into negative territory. They needed to do all of this. Then they had the statistics manipulated. Unemployment, GDP, retail, housing. You name it, they needed to manipulate all of it just to convince everyone around the world that the economy is absolutely fine. And if you take all that away and you let the free market go, it would all collapse. And the question we need to ask is, why are they doing this? It's not making the everyday person wealthy. A lot of people are out of work. A lot of retail stores have closed. A lot of corporations aren't making profits. Sales are down. Manufacturing is almost gone. So who does this benefit? It benefits them, the central bankers, the elite, the 1%. It does not benefit the people. This is why they've been doing all of this. This is why they need this illusion. And this is why they're going to continually do it until they bring down the economy. And they're waiting for the right moment so they are not blamed. Because they know that this system, it's at its end game. And it can't last much longer. And they're racing against time. Because the real economy, what's going on, is completely separate and apart from their illusion. And they're getting further and further apart. Soon, it won't even make sense. And they know this. We see right now that all international financial transactions must pass through the U.S. banking system. This is how it was designed. This gives the U.S. government an incredible amount of power. And believe me, they're not shy in using this power. They can place sanctions. They can take a country and destroy it, like Venezuela, or any other country that doesn't abide by their rules. And we can see that during this period of this power that the United States government central bankers have had, they enforced sanctions on many countries and made countries do things they didn't really want to do. And their system right now is being threatened by blockchain development. And many banks are joining up with this. Deutsche Bank from Germany, UBS from Switzerland, Santander from Spain, Bank of New York Mellon have joined this new system called Utility Settlement Coin. And we can see that these institutions are looking to bypass the US dollar when they have these transactions, because the transactions would just go from bank to bank. There would be no centralization. And we can see that Bitcoin is a blockchain type of technology. And if this goes forward, the reserve currency, the dollar, the power that the United States government central bankers have, is going to disappear. And if we look into the future, we know there's going to be some type of new currency. Do we know exactly what it's going to be? Not yet. But there are different theories going, blockchain being one of them, the yuan as a reserve currency backed by gold. And we can see all of this happening at once. SDRs is another. But we can see right now the central banks, they would like to have control. The rest of the world, the rest of the countries, they don't want to be controlled by a central bank. They don't want another entity to have the capability of putting pressure on the countries. And we can see as this blockchain technology grows, most likely more and more countries will move towards this and away from the dollar, which means the power of the United States government central bankers will really disappear. And the pressure and the military force that they've been using for all these years will also disappear. And this is something to watch, because when this does occur, and it will happen one way or another, the U.S., the way of life will completely change. Because we've been living under this umbrella of the dollar as a reserve currency, where products flowed into this country, where the way of life and the value of the dollar was very high, and we can go and we can purchase things, and it was strong. But we can see we're in a world that is completely changing, and our way of life, it's about to change. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.